Okay, let's see here. 3, 2, 1. And we're live.
Hi.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, Mr. John Allen. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good, Alex Lipton. How are you? It's been a little bit since we've talked.
Yes. We've been in touch textually. But yeah, it's been a minute, and I'm just starting to finally get better now. I've been pretty sick the last couple weeks.
With like a cold or a flu or something?
Something like that. I started off as a light cold, like a sore throat and a stuffy nose, but then it turned into, on Christmas Day, I got this gnarly stomach virus. I was just throwing up all day. And then I started getting like more of a heavy cold after that. So I think it sort of catapulted the sickness, made it worse. But I'm starting to finally feel better now.
Glad to hear that. It's a good time to start feeling better right at the end of the year. You want to start the year feeling as good as you possibly can. So
yes.
Hopefully you'll wake up tomorrow feeling right as rain.
Yes.
I like your setup back there.
Thank you. Yeah, got my how's the levels on the microphone? Is that okay?
Yeah, it's good. Can you hear me all right?
Yes, I hear you good. This is the first time I'm using even headphones for doing this too, so.
Sweet. You look fresh. Is that a brand new mic too?
Brand new microphone. This thing is awesome. It's like a USB microphone, but it's got several microphones built into this thing. And really, really good. And I got this webcam. It's like a 4K. I don't know if the 4K is really utilized at this moment, but it's great because I can actually work solely on my desktop now, which is really nice.
Awesome.
Yeah, it feels good. Feels really good.
Feels professional. Is that a Tenacious D hoodie?
Yes, it is. Tenacious D. Here, and then I got here, look at the back. Did you watch any of the Apocalypto cartoons?
I don't know.
Hold on.
What is? Oh, nice. Yeah, I mean, I listened to the whole album, right? That's the new album.
Oh God, it's like the Matrix. This will feel a
That's
little weird.
the new album, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I listened to all of it, but I don't know if I saw any of the animations or anything for it.
Yeah, they're very crude animations, very simple but silly. And when Mike and I saw them in concert, they did the entire new album first.
Nice.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun, man. A lot of fun, and they did the hits towards the end. Have you ever been to the Palladium before?
Where is that exactly?
It's in Hollywood, like right on Sunset by, I think, Sunset and Vine over there.
I don't think so.
It's a big venue, man. I was thinking it was going to be something like the Roxy, just at more of a, like a moderate size venue. But this thing was huge, and it was a giant theater. Must have been thousands of people in there.
Sweet. Was it bigger than the place that we saw Kimbra at, do you think?
Yes, definitely big. It was probably twice the size of that.
Sweet.
Yeah.
When did you guys go?
That was on the 21st. Yeah.
The solstice.
Yeah. It was fun, man. It was, got really drunk, started stumbling around a little bit, had to leave the concert early.
Nicely done.
I know I wasn't alone though. Yeah, it was great though, man. It's been fun. How was your Christmas?
It was good. It was very low key. Just like 5 or I think 6 of us total. My brother was working, as firemen do on Christmas and Christmas Eve. But I got to see him Christmas Day. But yeah, nothing crazy. Just very very minimal, I'd say, but very good. And we got a little bit of snow, but nothing that really stuck. But yeah. Well, what about you? What did you guys do?
Hold on one second. Thor, please.
Sure. Abigail. Come here.
It might be the Mormons.
The Mormons are here again?
The Mormons keep dropping by. I told them I'm not willing to be baptized, and they keep coming by, and they come by really late. Yesterday they came by at maybe 7:30 or 8, It was dark out. They always come when it's dark out. They're like vampires.
That's kind of creepy. Do they live in your neighborhood?
I don't know if they live in the neighborhood or they just do their like missionary work in the neighborhood, but it's sketchy. But she is so cute. How is Machiavelli and Abigail get along?
He's adapting slowly, so he's definitely way more accepting of her than he was obviously the first couple of days. But it's been 3 weeks now. He still gets annoyed with her, but he's doing better. You know, it'll take it'll take a little time, and she's still crazy pup. You know, always trying to jump all over and like no spatial awareness. You know, Machiavelli's very private and confined with his space and doesn't really want you in his bubble. And she's just like falling all over him and like, you know, nibbling on his tail and, she's used to walking all over her brothers and sisters and her mom. So they were just, that's how they interacted. Machiavelli hasn't been like that for a long, long time. So he's going to have to revert to some puppyisms, but there's progress. It's slow progress, but she mostly just follows me around anyway, and he stays in the other room by himself. So
nice. She's adorable, man.
Yeah, thank you. I agree. She's so far so good. She's pretty standard puppy, but there are a lot of positive things about her, and the things that are very puppy-ish about her are kind of dumbed down from what they could be. Like she's not a big barker, not a big chewer on like furniture or wires, or she has accidents all over the house, but it's not as bad as it could be, and she seems smart and responsive, and so all the good signs are there, but obviously she's still a puppy, so
yeah,
some time, but so far so good.
Excellent choice with the name Abigail. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, she's seen it. I toyed with it a little bit. I had her for like almost 4 or 5 days before deciding on a name for her, but I had come up with a couple of options, and Abigail was the first one I thought of weeks and weeks ago, and then I kind of went away from it as I was thinking about it more. But then once I had her for a few days, I was like, no, she's not any of these other names that I came up with. And then I started one day randomly, just like Abigail came out, and then I was like, that feels right, and that was it. Yeah. And now I think she's just starting to learn it too. So if I say your name, she'll whip her head towards me. So she's
nice.
Pretty smart.
Excellent. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. How are your pups doing?
They're doing good. Hold on. I think they're trying to get back in now.
Naturally.
All right. Well, Isabel is.
How old is Isabella now?
Isabel, come here. She's in awesome mode right now.
How old is she again? Isabel? 9.
Yep. Yeah, she just turned 9. Thor just and the other puppies turned 7.
7. That's crazy.
I know. It's even Isabel being 9. Like the fact that 2009 was pretty much 10 years ago is blowing my mind, man. This time 10 years ago, that was prime time house experience.
It was very much prime time house.
Yeah. Oh man. So I watched a movie today. Have you seen or heard of Mid-90s?
Yes.
Did you see it?
I started watching it the other night. I got about a half hour in, and I just wasn't on that train. I hopped off, because I realized it was a little bit different, at least in the style wise. So I was like, I don't know if I'm in the mood for this.
It's kind of a serious movie. It's definitely something that you need to give it that time for. It's a commitment, but not time-wise.
It kind of reminded me of, I know it wasn't as bad at that point, but Kids a little bit, just in the way that it was kind of free-flowing and seemed kind of almost too real, and then just a bunch of kids doing kid stuff. I mean, it is, and that one was based in the early 90s too, so
right.
Maybe that's what kind of set me. I was like, this is reminding me of that movie that I can't really.
Yeah, it's not as dark as Kids. At the end, no spoilers or anything, but it gave me a feeling similar to what Stand By Me was like. Sort of a more modern or mid-90s version of Stand By Me. Really impressive.
You liked it? Yeah.
I really liked it. It was, I would say, probably my favorite movie of the year. Like thinking about, I mean, there were a bunch of movies that came out that were good, but this one probably was the more I don't know. It wasn't Aquaman, let's just say.
Did you see Aquaman?
I did see Aquaman.
And what did you think of that?
I liked it. Not a, you watched Entourage, right?
Right.
So it's like the joke of Aquaman, the movie that James Cameron's gonna make, and it's. I mean, the guy talks to fish. How you can't really make that movie any more than it's kind of silly inherently. So the way they did it, it seemed to me it was like the best they could have done. And James Wan directed it, who I really like, did the Conjuring and Insidious. Really like those movies. But it was great, and I loved all the Atlantis stuff, man.
Yeah, I'm
Seeing
sure
the destruction of Atlantis and all of the hidden, David Wilcott's secret messages in the movie and all that.
I don't really know the story that well. Is Aquaman from Atlantis? Is he in the comic books?
Well, I don't know about the comic books, but in the story, he is half human, half Atlantean.
Okay.
His mom is Nicole Kidman, who is the queen of Atlantis, and he's half human, half breed. And they really tapped into the Game of Thrones vibe. It was so much like who's gonna sit on the throne. And funny with Khal Drogo being the Jon Snow character, he's both Targaryen and Stark. He's both Atlantean and human, and that whole thing.
The resonator,
big time resonator. Yeah, so it was fun, man. Very cheesy a lot of the time, but I could deal with that. They did a good job for that. And Khal Drogo, Jason Momoa did a pretty cool job with it, so it was fun.
Nice. Yeah, I'll definitely eventually see that. I'm not sure if I'll go to the theater to watch it, but maybe. But one of my Christmas presents was like a Marcus, like a movie theater gift card. So I got 5 movies in the bank if I want to go.
Oh, nice.
So that might be one I wouldn't mind, if I wasn't spending the $12 on it. I might go see what it's about. Yeah. And it'd probably be better in the theater, obviously, I would imagine.
Yeah. It's a very spectacle-driven movie. And to think also how there's the James Cameron connection from Entourage, how James Cameron was supposed to make Aquaman in Entourage. And this whole movie is about the underwater, a lot of underwater sequences of action stuff and the surface and the underwater people. And that's very much what Avatar 2 is going to be, except James Cameron's doing it James Cameron style. They actually filmed it underwater, got the actors to hold their breath. It wasn't just CGI video game style, but so it'll be funny to see just the timing of this. Aquaman comes out almost kind of piggybacking on here's a very watered down version, no pun intended, of what Aquaman is, of what Avatar is going to be. So
is Avatar for sure coming out next year?
2020.
2020, okay.
2020,
so
yeah.
Exactly 10 years, right? Or no?
11 years.
11 years.
And then there's Avatar 2 and 3, at least. I think they have through 5 scheduled, but, those are probably tentative depending on the success of 2. Mm-hmm. I'm sure it's going to be incredible. Nathan Howgard on Instagram, do you follow him on Instagram? Apparently he worked with James Cameron. There's a picture of him and James Cameron at some big after party all hanging out. It's wow, of course.
I didn't actually think I saw him, but I feel like there's been, 5 times in the last 5 years that I saw somebody and I double looked and I was like, is that fucking Nathan Howgard? It wasn't him any of the times, but I've been he's apparently just living in my peripheral.
Yep, Nathan's always in the peripheral. That's awesome, man. Yeah. What else? What other thing?
Tonight?
Not really, man. I mean, I was gonna tonight after we do this, I was gonna make some. Remember those hottie antipasta squares that I would make?
Yeah,
the cold cuts. So I was gonna make those. I was gonna make some chicken wings. That's about it. And then gonna watch Black Mirror Balderdash, I think it's called. Did you? We must have talked about that. I'm just not remembering at this moment. Did you get into Black Mirror at all?
I saw probably 10 episodes total, so I didn't fully get into it. But
that's enough.
I liked what I saw. And I thought it was very, very well done and cool, but it's almost too well done and too much sometimes. So
it is. So you've heard about the one that's on Netflix now. The interactive.
Because I feel like every time I just put it on and I don't pick anything right away, it'll play the preview immediately. So I've seen it once or twice.
That shit pisses me off, honestly. Like that's why, like Netflix, I just wish they would just like not automatically start playing the trailers. I just really wish it would just. It's like I feel like I'm constantly having to scroll just to put off having to hear the automatic trailers, and it's like I can't concentrate on one thing at a time. It's like fucking Netflix.
They got you right where they want you, Alex.
Yep, it's literally a Black Mirror episode.
That's the joke.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not doing anything either, which I feel pretty good about tonight. That is trying to stay low key. I don't work tomorrow or anything, so I'm gonna try to not go to bed feeling like I ate too much or drank too much or did anything like that. I'm gonna try to get some stuff done. So I'm gonna try to get a little running start into the new year. So
yep, I'm on the same page, man. That's I had a few possibilities. The fact that I'm coming down from this sickness is one motivator, of course, to not do anything, but that's almost just an excuse, which is a good enough excuse, like a reasonable excuse, because I could have gone down to San Diego. There was a bar down there that one of the last times I visited when my brother Patrick was in town. They have a like a VIP party at this bar, and then I bought a ticket to like get into this like special guest list thing, an exclusive bar. So I was going to either do that or drive up to LA and go to this like party up there. And Mayor was like, "Oh, you should come up and party." And I'm like, honestly, I want to go back to the gym. I told you about that, right? When I went to the gym and they were closed. So I'm going to go sign up with this new gym in Oceanside. So I was planning on actually doing that tomorrow.
Well, it'll be busy as fuck, right? So
yeah.
Mentally prepare yourself.
Yeah, I'm not even necessarily trying to go to the gym as much as I want to go and sign up.
Well, right, yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I mean. But you probably won't be the only one.
Yeah, no, you're right. You're right. Yeah. I'm, and at least intentionally on the same level as like I don't want to get too fucked up to the point where I can at least, start the year off right away doing something productive. If it works out right away, at least I could, start moving in that direction.
Right. Yeah, it's a good mental step. Same with me, and the things that I'm doing. I'm just kind of cleansing the palate for it and not trying to do it all right away, but trying to learn from everything that I've done and how I've formed and created my habits and how ingrained they are. I mean, I'm not trying to switch everything over in 24 hours. It's just like, I don't want to start the new year off feeling like I just drank too much last night, but I also am not going to be like planning on getting up and going for a 4-mile run in the morning, So
yeah, exactly.
I'm not going to try to trick myself. So
yeah, it's just kind of plant the seed, make some sort of move in that direction. Not necessarily the checkmate move, but move one of the pawns in.
So how did you feel about this last year, I guess? I mean, just in general for you, do you feel like it was a positive year? Do you feel like you accomplished things, or was there some back and forth going, or?
Yeah, it was an interesting year, man. Not what I expected it to be. I had intentions for the year, but and I accomplished a lot of the things I wanted to do, but in terms of like what I don't know, a lot of things went into question. I feel like this year, this was a major reevaluating year for me, especially with the way that, just to put like a face on the way I see things in terms of David Wilcock, like for all the years we've really like followed him and had the ups and downs with him. It was after Sundance in July that the whole thing with the article he posted with the and with Gaia TV and the Luciferian thing and Graham Hancock, that whole yada yada story, that set me on a point where I just started to really question things a lot more. And then getting more into magic and to like sleight of hand and researching magicians and learning about the history of psychic performers and the power of the mind. And it really got me. I really started to reevaluate the way I see things. Like, not to say I don't believe in any of that stuff anymore. I'm not saying that at all, but as far as the major focus of my major focus in all of this, like where my attention is going, I've started this year more than ever. I really went through like a weeding out the things that are just not useful to me in thinking in that, like to look at it as a school of thought. I feel like I've pulled out of a certain school of thought, or I've moved on from a certain school of thought, and took the things that were helpful and try to push away the things that are not helpful to me. And yeah, the whole thing with conspiracies in general, it's like, even getting into that 9/11 discussion we had, it was like with directed energy weapons and all that type of stuff. It's like, you know what? It's like, whether or not that stuff exists, it's really irrelevant. It's irrelevant to the stuff. And we've talked about this on previous shows before, but this year I feel like that really resonated hard with me. And I'm glad about that, because I want to accomplish some things, not just to do, but I want to feel better about myself. There's been a lot of building up and momentum to some sort of event, not necessarily the October 14th event, but the event of we've been discussing, like, of our lives and the things we want to accomplish. And it almost felt like this year there was like a little stagnant point. Maybe if it was like going down a hill and then it like kind of leveled off for a second, and I needed to like now start pushing it. It wasn't just doing it on its own. Yeah. So this year was monumental in that way, that it's like, okay, well, this thing is not just gonna push itself. Like, it will, but it's a give and a take process. There's a pushback that I need to do. So this has been a profound year in that way. It's gotten me to rethink and kind of reevaluate all that stuff.
Like a form of graduation, or maybe like moving up a grade or a couple of grades, just to relate it to that metaphor that we've talked about before. Because that's kind of how I felt, not necessarily a graduation, but like making it to senior year or something along those lines. Mm-hmm. Where it's like almost, we've made progress and grown up. And I feel actually similarly about the conspiracy aspect of things and how we've been thinking for the last 10 plus years, and kind of not outgrowing it, but like in a way, yes, but also forming more of our own opinions and ideas about how the world works, instead of just kind of taking what people say as gospel. We've kind of, I think, gone away from that a lot, or at least learned, like you said, taken out the things that we don't need anymore and kind of weeded, but kept what we needed, and just move forward with that. And I feel like as we've talked the last few years, it's kind of been more and more like we can see how humorous all of that stuff is, and ridiculous, and even directed energy weapons, and like, how excited we can get, and excitable, especially when we're talking to each other, and make it seem like anything's possible, especially in that kind of realm where it's in the shadows. And you're like, of course they could do that. Why wouldn't they? And that would make perfect sense for this and that. And it's just, that is, most of those things that we talk about are, from the standpoint of normal society, completely ridiculous,
right?
Which is exciting, and I still don't count it out, but I've definitely kind of tamed down the amount I've relied on those kind of theories to explain everything, or just to believe that they're going on. And I think that's probably a big step, but it's linked to other things, right? I think just more so of, we're both in our 30s now, and kind of formulating, we've seen enough to make our own decisions. We're not scholars on all of these topics, but we've had enough experiences. We've traveled, we've met people, we've made things, we've made good things and bad things, and had good conversations, and had intense experiences. And I just feel like we're like, all right, now we know enough that we could be like, hold on, I'm gonna figure out what I think, just for me, take from everybody else the things that resonate with me, but now I'm going to just kind of live according to how I see the world. And I trust myself enough that I kind of at least know what I'm doing to not get myself killed, I guess. Probably I can support myself and make my own decisions. And I feel like 30 was a big trigger for me to like be more professional, because neither of us really, I mean, you have a boss helping you kind of with the creative work, kind of, ish, but I don't really have a boss in my creative level. I mean, both of us are mostly our bosses when it comes to our super creative stuff that we are passionate about. So that's harder to get motivated. I feel like if you're the only one who kind of knows that you're slacking off. And I feel like getting into my 30s, and now that I'm 33, it's kind of like I'm better at motivating myself and being my own boss, and not sprinting yet and accomplishing all the things that I want to accomplish. But this past year I've done like a lot, like way more than I've done the last couple of years for sure. Like we've always been constantly working on mandala, but this year we got it to the best place that it's ever been, and that was a great process. But then when, I came out there for your birthday and we hung out at Hank Moody's place in the beginning of the year, and just all the things that were happening. And I feel like those kind of motivated me. And then us doing, however many podcasts, we've been talking about doing something like this for a long time. And this year we've done, I don't know, over 5, maybe even around 10 of these we've done, which is awesome in itself. And then just kind of motivating myself, like I said, and we're like, actually doing these things. We still have a long way to go, but I think, as you said, this year was monumental and kind of clearing the slate, or at least clearing the path a little bit, and getting all the big old tires and refrigerators and tall grass and 50-year-old cars that don't have tires on them or wheels, like getting that stuff out of the way to kind of like clear the path a little bit. And I could see things a little bit more clearly. Mm-hmm. Still not super clear, but but I can kind of see where I'm going better, and I feel better about where I'm going, even though I still gotta do a lot of things. But
yeah. And you mentioned also before, like, how whether like is this, could you explain this in terms of a graduation this year? And I feel like the graduation is imminent. It wasn't this year. I wouldn't describe exactly as a graduation, but I would definitely describe it as like one of the major tests, like, required in order to graduate. And even with Sundance too, this is the 3rd year that I've done the Sundance, and that's a very like a lot of trial, like a huge trial to go through, basically a lot to go through. And this is coming on the 4th year now, and that will literally be my graduation from the Sundance this coming year. So that's kind of interesting how that lines up. Mm-hmm. But the whole thing of just really putting, it's like, and turning 30 in terms of Saturn return as well. It's like Saturn return, generally speaking, is the point in which all of the things that we've done, all the seeds that we've sown, have grown to a point, and it's our first major harvest of our own life experiences. And it's like you get to see what, the results and the consequences of your actions are. And a lot of them really are from beyond the earlier, past the point, before the point we had consciousness to make intentions and all that. So this is the coming of fruition of a lot of things of who we are. So this is definitely like that moment of recognizing what brought us here, what needs to change, all of this, like becoming a boss, like you said too, is really, that's a, working for Uncle Bruce all this time. And he's definitely, I consider them my employers, obviously, but at the same time, it's like I've been in charge of my own job for a long time, and it's definitely wasn't easy. Hasn't been easy to really come up with a schedule that works and to stick to it. And especially being in a creative field, it's hard, things kind of happen. You just go with the flow and odd hours and stuff like that. So yeah, this year has definitely been a good test that I'm willing to recognize the things that don't work, things that do work. And I'm at a place now where I'm doing the things that I need to do, not because I have to do them, but because I want to do them. And that's valuable. Like we've been saying a lot of this stuff for years in its own little pockets, but totally different context as to what has come this year to give it, an example like that.
Well, I remember you saying, like, in one of our earlier podcasts, like, change something instead of what you need into what, like, make it a want, or or maybe you said change it into a need. I'm not really sure what it was, but either way, the change and the switching of the want and the need, according to the situation, it's a very simple but like positive way to look at it. And that's how I feel too. Like, when you be working on a project and you needed to get it done, when you didn't really want to do it or you couldn't find the motivation, it felt like more like I have to do it, but now I'm feeling similar to you and like that I'm wanting to do these things. Like I finally churned it up enough that I'm like realizing that this is the thing that I really enjoy doing once I get down and, stop making it such a big deal to like execute it. But making it something that I want to do now, and how that's evolved into that has helped tremendously. In like being more progressive with it. It's just like, oh, I want to do that, instead of wanting to, I don't know, drink a bottle of champagne or just sit on the couch all night. It's like that's easy, but there's more of a need to accomplish things now, for me at least, especially because I've kind of set out a quota of what I want to do, and I know what I need to do, and I've kind of done all the grunt work beforehand, so I don't have any excuses later. Like setting up the baseline for everything, and giving everything a foundation, and getting all the ideas. And there was something I wanted to bounce off of you at some point during this talk, but it's just being more wise about things and how I go about doing things. I think is making it easier to want to do these things, because it's like the same way that I do anything. I always do like when I'm punching in an order at work, with a lot of people or whatever, I usually, if there's only I usually go and I punch in the most complicated one first to get that out of the way. That's the one that takes 2 minutes, and the other ones I'll take 10 seconds. So I always, if I can, go to the first one, get the tough one out of the way, so then everything else will be kind of a breeze. And that's kind of how I do it with the projects that I've been working on. And the grunt work has been difficult, but once you get past that and it's just kind of the fun stuff, then it's like, oh, I want to do this. And it's just all the momentum's already there, or, at least you're pushing it, as much as you can. And then you finally get the momentum going so that you don't have to, put all your weight on it. And then you can kind of hop in and coast until, you get a lot more speed.
Yeah. Yeah. I completely agree. It's that process. And 2018, I mean, we're getting ready to round into the next decade, and a lot of things are going on in the world. I found myself getting angry a lot especially with David Wilcock. Like I got uncharacteristically angry. I was projecting a lot of my, just like a lot of things were going through my head. Like, how the fuck could I have just been like so into this for so long? And then I would have to say to myself, like, well, it's not like everything he's saying is wrong. It's not that. And it's like a lot of the things that were going on that I was angry with him about, I'm grateful enough to have some sort of wisdom to recognize that that's like my own insecurities that we're projecting on that. So I started asking myself, well, what am I so angry about with myself? Where is my sense of boundaries? What is it that I'm so angry about with? And it's like, I think historically to put it, it's like I've been I'm an optimistic person. I've always been very open-minded and everything, and I'm still open-minded. But this year I've developed a more of a healthy form of sense of skepticism, of being a little bit more skeptical. And I think we've talked about this too, about putting that filter up so that we're not just taking everything in all the time. This year, it was like a major overhaul of the filter. And there's I think it's important, because when it comes down to the real point of all this, I think, is that we want to be the best people we can be so that we can be creative and help other people and really just enjoy our lives and feel some sort of sense of accomplishment. That'd be nice. It's like seeing the whole roundabout of people following their dreams and doing what they want to do. And it's like you start off at a younger point. 10 years ago, we had very clear intentions. It was more, it wasn't as a refined intention. I feel like it's like this has been a whole series of refinement going on, and I'm really grateful for it. There's been a lot of, after all that stuff of being angry and everything, it really got me back into just understanding forgiveness. This year, I really started to question the concept of evil in general, kind of precipitated by the whole narrative of like the good aliens and the bad aliens story, and really wondering is does evil really exist? What is evil? Is evil a supernatural force separate from the creator? But then it's like, no, that doesn't make sense to me because everything is one. How could there be something that's not part of the self if it's all one? Shouldn't it's like that conflict really got me, I think, extra frustrated. It's like, damn it, David, stop peddling this bullshit to people because you're contradicting yourself. And it's like, no, Alex, you're contradicting yourself. So that's been a really cool thing. And then now that this is the third Christmas in a row that I've been pretty sick on. It's hasn't been as sick as the previous ones, but it's gotten me humbled to the point where it's like, okay, what are my intentions? It's like, I don't like being sick, but my body's telling me, it's like, well, you're not doing anything else with your body, so what does it matter if you're sick? And it's like, well, it's like, well, what am I going to do when I'm not sick? Like, how can I make the best of this and learn to forgive people and learn to forgive myself? I know I can do it. I know I do forgive myself for a lot of things, but there's always shit that keeps unfolding. So we got to be mindful of all that stuff. And compared to previous years, I feel like I've been more reflective on all this stuff at this point of the year. There haven't been as many distractions of like going out and getting really fucked up or something, you know?
Yeah. I mean, well, how do you think that you getting sick is like at this time of year makes sense on like a spiritual level too, just because it's like an end of the year thing? Or do you think it's just because of like your habits that you get into in like the fall and the winter, and then by the time winter comes, and I mean winter for you, but you know, by the time this time comes around, it's just like your body, because of the same cycle you're doing in some way, it's just kind of like, oh, now is when we get sick. This is the time when we do it.
Yep. It's probably both. I would say it's some form of both, but if I had to prioritize them, I'm going to take the spiritual route with this, the intentional like programming. There is a program in place that's a field that is giving rise to the effects of all this stuff. I would say that first and foremost, not to deny that germs are out there and this type of shit's going around, you know, but I think we can say that that's too easy of an excuse to just blame it on the germs, or, oh, it's just something going around. So yeah, I do think that it's part of that. And 3 Christmases in a row, this is my favorite time of year. It's my favorite holiday. And to be sick, it's like, it's definitely a signal coming in from the cells, or in the higher self, the GPS, if you will. It's just coming in and providing, like, there's a message here. Are you willing to hear the message? And there's been a lot of, like, you know, usually when something comes in through my screen, like through the customs board, it's like, okay, I know what to do with this. I'm going to put this over here. Oh, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to put this over here. But there's been such a jumbling up in the screen and signals are coming in. I'm like, all right, well, I don't really know what to do with this right now. Where is this going to go? I'll put it over here for now. And it's like, oh, that doesn't go there. So there's been a kind of a total mix up. And that's what I love about this year. One of the biggest things I'm happy about, highlights of this year, was I said this before, but getting into magic again. And really reading about magic and how amazing it is as a tool of transforming perceptions and molding perceptions and influencing other people's perceptions. And generally, it's for positive. That's what I love about magic. It's like you show somebody something that you know is not real, it could not be done, but somehow it slips by your perception to the point where it's like, it literally like blows your mind. Like, I don't know how the hell that happened. I know you're fooling me. I know you're lying to me, but I don't know what the fuck just happened. It's like, and that type of joy is really interesting, and learning about the art of it and having that debate with my uncle about magic. And because going to talk about bending spoons, and he's like, oh yeah, no, I was there. I saw a guy bend a spoon with his mind. I'm like, no, you didn't. I'm like, Uncle Bruce, I'm sorry, but that's he basically was just like bending the spoon and playing with your perception, making you think he bent the spoon, and he was just the guy doing a very serious argument about it. And it was funny because I think I don't know if I might have told you about this, but Aunt Margaret had to interject in the middle of it and be like, Bruce, like, Bruce, like, calm down. Alex knows what he's talking about. He's been doing magic for a long time. Like,
Wow.
and I had to tell him, like, look, Uncle Bruce, I'm not denying that like consciousness influencing a matter doesn't exist. Like, dude, I work with you. Like, I know it exists. But when it comes down to the magic performance art, that's not what you think it is, because that was a thing. You saw this guy, Gerard Senehi, who's a mentalist, and Uncle Bruce told me, he's like, oh yeah, he's a mentalist, and he bent a spoon. And I'm like, yeah, that's what's your definition of a mentalist? And he said, oh, somebody who can use the will of their mind to influence the world. I'm like, dude, that's not what mentalism is. That's just, mentalism is the skill or the technique of being able to put ideas into people's heads or extract ideas from people's heads without them knowing about it. So I can get you to think of something that seems like it's basically Inception. Like, it's the art of Inception. And he was just like, there was a mix up in the definition of it. So it came to this point, which I think was really profound, was that, you know, talking about bending spoons with the mind and real magic and everything. And he was saying, oh no, he really did it. How could you have done it? I'm like, look, there's ways, I don't know specifics of how he might have done it in that case. But it came down to something like, the real magic, Uncle Bruce, is happening in your perception, and how your beliefs about reality are actually influencing reality itself. So reality might not even be changing. It's your belief that's changing, which can then perhaps influence a reality. And it's like, I kind of fed back to him what he's always talking about, but in the context of like seeing something that seemed impossible. It was like he almost like was arguing with me on what he's constantly trying to tell people all the time. And I was like, dude, that's what you always say. You're always saying that perception is where the magic's happening. So that kind of was like a weird little eye opener that showed me a different vantage point of the same thing that we've been very much invested in this whole time. It's like something magical and miracle, like whether it's an alien coming down from outer space or somebody like in the Matrix bending the spoon. It's like, what did they say in the Matrix? It wasn't the fucking spoon that bent. It was your mind, you that bent.
Yeah.
And it's like it's like that clicked in such a way. I was like, oh my God, it takes it out of the fucking like magical, like, you know, not to use that word, that miracle realm.
Right.
And actually made it real. And what's cool about magic and magicians too is that anybody can do that stuff. If you practice, you can do that. And it's like, that goes with the same thing about healing yourself and doing all these miraculous consciousness things, is that everybody can perform miracles. But it's like, when a magician does it, it's like, it's that much, it just seems that much more in grasp, like within your grasp, that you can do this, that this is real. It is, and it isn't at the same time. And I think that's been a really interesting kind of theme throughout the year for me.
Huh. That's cool. I mean, that's crazy that you and Uncle Bruce had that conversation, but like from two different perspectives, you know, that is normally the case. I feel like 10 years ago, Alex and Uncle Bruce having that conversation would 10 years ago would have been a very different conversation. But now, like, because of the paths that you guys have both gone on, you kind of not flip-flop quite, but like definitely taken a turn on your. That would have just been an interesting conversation or argument to like witness, just to hear both of you, you know, argue those points from those.
I wish I was recording it, man.
Yeah.
It was one of those, like, he was getting pissed with me. It got to the point where, like,
I mean, I don't know if that would be, you know, something he'd want to put on his thing, but that would be an interesting thing for you guys to record, just to have that conversation again. And then, you know, if it turned out well, you know, I mean, maybe it's something that you could put up online, but if not, it would just be a cool, like, interesting experiment, or just like a good, I don't know, be good for the universe. I feel like if that happened and it was recorded.
I completely agree. Yeah, it was.
Aunt Margaret could be the mediator or something.
Yeah, she should be. She had to mediate, because he was like getting all like, listen, you know, like, you don't know what you're talking about, like, and then he started trying to prove to me that spoon bending was real. Like, I'm not saying bending spoons is not, like, of course everything's possible. Start there. I'm not one of these magicians that's like, no, like Penn and Teller, like, nope. nope, we're going to debunk this, debunk that. Like, I'm not going to go down that road. But it got to a point where he was literally searching the internet, like trying to prove to me that like kids like in China can bend spoons with their minds, and they'd like teach it to them in schools and stuff. And he was pulling up all these videos, look at here, look here. And I'm just like, yeah, I'm not sure I believe it, because it's like my main argument was that if somebody like the guy he saw bend the spoon with his mind or bend a fork or do all these things, someone who's really capable of doing something like that does not go out there and try to perform this on a stage in front of people for money.
It's like that one guy who burned the paper and he went away because it was like put out in the world. Yeah, that's how it would be, right?
Exactly. That's exactly the example I used with him too. And it's like, dude, like, why? How would that work? Like, that just makes no sense to me. For somebody to exploit the powers of consciousness to amuse people.
Yeah, I feel like those are two opposite things. You can't be one and the other at the same time. You know, you can't be that pure that you could do these kind of magical things, but also be that impure that you'd want to exploit it and trick people using that same thing. It's just like, I feel like they wouldn't be able to function in the same consciousness.
Yeah. And I see it as a spectrum too, because a lot of the magic, all magic, I think is part of the same, like looking into the history of this stuff. There are people that know about in like mentalism that can do things that literally seem like they're reading your mind, or they're, you know, like Darren Brown type stuff. But then there's stuff of like sleight of hand stuff, you know, just taking a card and just like throwing it off in the distance, you know, and then pulling it out of the thin air. So there's like little sleight of hand things, but it's almost like education. There's math, there's subtraction, multiplication, division, and the further up you go, the more complex and interesting the magic gets. So it's like you don't show somebody calculus who's only understanding like addition and subtraction. Like there's like, I think the higher forms of magic, or magic with a K, as I'd like to say, is that's more serious. That's not for playing around. That's for like literally healing and performing miracles.
Yeah, accomplishing things with it, not just being showy, having like a party trick or something like that.
Yeah.
It's that level with, you know, everything, right? That's when you get to that professional level, you like, you know, you're just in a different category, but it's for a different, cause I think part of it is because the intention is different.
Yes.
Yeah, I still have a couple of magic books and like Wiccan books that I haven't opened in a while, but that's also been part of my route this year, at least recently, is finishing books that I've started, which has been really helpful and like therapeutic. Like one book I just finished that I started probably in the house, to be honest. So I've been reading it for 10 years. So to finally like churn through that, it was just like, oh, okay, that was nice. And so there's a couple more that I want to do, but those magic books are always like staring at me on my bookshelf. Like, come on, man, there's some good stuff in here. You know, I think they're pretty generic. I did a little bit of research before I got them, but obviously I wouldn't be trying to learn that stuff to make cool YouTube videos. I'm just interested in it. I think it's awesome, but I also think I wasn't ready for it. Maybe possibly when I got them, I think I was living in Berkeley possibly. But they're always there. They're not too far away from me. So I'm definitely going to get into that at some point, whenever it like calls me. Now all the books on the shelf are like calling me. So,
and you know, that's funny, because that's exactly when like I have three separate bookshelves. One is for my magic tricks. One is for my magic, like, you know, consciousness, wicked magic type stuff. And then I got like a regular bookshelf. But then there's even the magic books, like the magic trick books. Those are not books you could just go in and you can like go in and just read them from cover to cover. But a lot of them are reference books. So it's like, if you have something you know you want to do, like there's a certain technique or a certain method, you go through the books, you find the method, and then you study that part within there. And I think that also kind of applies to a lot of these books about the consciousness stuff too, because it's like until you have that need or something in there, you can go through and read and get the whole philosophy, but those things are like tarot cards. It's like when you have a specific intention in mind, the card, then the more specific you are, the card makes more sense. And those consciousness books are just like tarot cards in that way, even more so than any other book, I would say. So it's like when the time is ready, like that's a working reference guide for anything you need at that point.
Exactly. That's perfect. And I think we probably talked about that before too. It was kind of like our house was the version of like a dumbed down version of, or a simplified version of that, like of a library, instead of having full books on the wall that would call you, there was just, stuff written, pictures, faces, quotes, weird animals. And it was just kind of like, sometimes you would be drawn to something if you're just sitting there having a thought, and then all of a sudden you turn and look and read something that you wrote on the wall, like a year and a half ago, like, oh shit. Like, and then it would kind of like trigger something like that. I feel like that's just a simpler version of like having a bunch of books around you that you're like, wait, something's like, I'm feeling something right now. And then you're like, oh, I got the book, pick it up, open it up to the page. It's like, yes, now I was ready to, receive that information.
Yeah.
Like the book that I just finished was, I'm sure every writing teacher suggests, is The Hero with a Thousand Faces.
Oh yeah.
Joseph Campbell, which is like, if you want to be a screenwriter, that's like one of the top books you got to read. It's every story I've ever, come up with and ever thought about. And that is also kind of like a reference book as well, because it's really divvied up. And, this part of the journey, this part of these characters are, so that was why it was tougher to get through, because it wasn't like it was a story about all stories, but it really wasn't a fluid story. It was kind of like bouncing around a little bit. But now that I like have gotten all the way through it, it'll be a thing that I reference, I'm sure, consistently, because you could just bop open. It's like, what does the hero do here? Or like, what's the common thought of this, and what does this mean? And it's just super, super helpful to have around. And I have it all laid out here on my wall for like basically every story that I ever want to write now. It's just kind of like, I'm sure every writer's done this before, but like 12 steps basically of the path of the hero. And I'm sure if we broke down all of our favorite movies, it's all in there. But it's just a nice thing to have gotten through. And now it's like my tool shelf, now I have that and I can kind of reference it. Just like the magic is, this is kind of its own, this is like story magic, it's kind of like the tricks of how to write a story, but really it's not that. All the things are there, the cliff notes have been available for everybody for a long time. It's just if you're, ready to use them, and you can use them in the right way. So it feels really nice to have gotten through that, because that feels like I did a lot of grunt work for like every script I ever write in the future now, instead of just like a lot of legwork for one script. This is like what I've been doing the last couple of months, is breaking down that kind of stuff and slowly in my own way. And now I'm like, oh, okay, that was a big thing for me this year, was to kind of get that tool, like in a fucking video game where you're searching a whole level to earn this trophy or this skill to get, and then you finally fucking get it. And now the rest of the way you have this, this big tool on your side. So that's kind of what I've accomplished. But I feel like there's a couple more of those in the Magic or the Wiccan books, or even just for like not even trying to conjure up a spell, but just thinking like perception wise. And there are a couple other books, like this is definitely the most interested I've been in books around the holiday season. So I've gotten more than a few, because those are all really that I asked for. So I'm excited and they're all kind of like in that realm of tool gathering, like a lot of strategy books, or just like breaking down stuff that I'll need.
So with the hero's journey, do you, because you're familiar with this kind of the structure generally of descending, meeting the guide, doing where would you say that you are on the hero's journey right now?
Oh, interesting. That's a good question. Well, I mean, there's a couple. Yeah, it's still like I'm still before the big showdown. It's like I definitely crossed the threshold, but then there's a bunch of people you got to meet and figure out who's your friend and who's not, and gather a bunch of information, and then you like make the choice to go to the next step, and then after that is when like the ordeal happens. So I'm for sure not in any of that yet, But I feel like whenever I come back to California for the third time, that will be when I kind of approach the cave, as it's called. So that's like where I'm going to be the beginning
That's
of
the
the
bottom
end.
part of the bottom,
Yeah,
like
the
bottom
beginning of the end of it. Yeah.
yeah,
So I feel like
before
I'm
you
right.
rise back up.
I feel like I'm at the top of the roller coaster, you know, where it's just like I just made it up, and then I got a couple more things to do, and then it all starts, you know, going not downhill, but the momentum is really there, to go back to your metaphor as well. So I'd say almost like right in the middle, to be honest. You know, I've
Mhm.
gone through a lot of stuff, but there's still a lot of stuff ahead.
Yeah.
So pretty much right in the middle almost. What about
Mhm.
you? Do you have a point where you think you are?
Yeah, I would say like in the middle too. I don't really. I mean, I guess there's that part at the bottom of the circle. So there's like where the point in the journey where you that's not where I'm at right now. But just to give a reference point, the where you're like, what the hell? Like, why the hell did I go on this journey? I don't know where the fuck I am. I don't know how to fucking get out of here. I'm all by myself. To me, that was like right before I left Crestone. That
Yeah.
was like the point where like I got to this point in the journey and I'm like, what the fuck am I doing here? And so I feel like I'm at that point. Like it's been a process of trying to rise back up, like to find the like a really solid couple of rungs on the ladder to start like climbing up. And I've been having moments of like getting up to a certain point, like climbing up a ladder, like, oh, there's a good ladder, get to a point, but then there's like a wall right there. So I got to like go back down, find another one. So I'm in that point of like trying to like ramp up to get, you know, I guess out of the cave, you know, like get out of that point. Yeah, and another interesting, I guess the ancient Egyptians, they knew all about this as well with the pyramid and the three pathways. So you can go down into the depths, you can go into the queen's chamber, or you can go up into the king's chamber. So like hero's journey wise, if you go down into the bottom one, you realize you can't go any further, so you have to go back. But there's a secret passageway that takes you on a more like you have to climb up a fucking shaft to get to the queen's chamber, and it's kind of going in a very awkward angle, so it's not as simple as just walking to the queen's chamber. But it's actually like you gain a lot more from doing that experience. But I feel like in that point, because when you're going back up, you realize you can't go any further down, you have to go back up. So it's going up, and you get that little area in the queen's chamber, which is in the middle. It's like a little resting point, like a little just kind of like what's the word, like a little terrace within. Like you climb up a really hard part, and then you're kind of waiting, and you still have more to go after that. That's where I feel like I'm at right now.
Okay.
I'm like right at that point.
So a place where you have time to kind of think about it for a minute.
Yes.
Reassess. You put a lot of legwork in, but now you're in a place where you can assess what's happening.
Yeah. And there's still a lot more to go.
Right.
There's still more that needs to be done, but there's, like you said, there's that reassessment kind of attitude. There's a little bit of a time. There's time to gather shit, because the stakes are higher too now, because once you go back out in there, it's like you could fall all the way back down.
Right. Exactly.
So you gotta be like really strong and committed to that point. And I think that's that makes sense for how I feel about a lot of stuff. And then seeing my cousin Charlie, who also is a firefighter. He just joined the Army, and he was incredibly overweight. But he got into shape like big time. He had this focus. He was like, I'm going to join the Army and get out of this town. I'm going to do this stuff. I tried to talk him out of it. I was like, you sure you don't want to just like come out here or something? I was like, but anyway, it was really good for him. He got into really good shape, and it's been inspiring to see him do this type of thing. So I take that to heart, seeing people fulfill a commitment and really pushing themselves beyond that. Because we've even texted back and forth periodically in the last like month about like how we could totally be doing more, or we could be trying harder or something, or and not to like put down or marginalize all that. Of course, everything's happening for a reason, but we know what we're capable of, and we have a lot of tools to make things happen. And I think it's a good, both of us doing New Year's the way we're doing it. It's a good, it's a good step towards in that direction.
Agreed. Agreed. It makes a lot of sense. Yeah, from what we've been talking about, for forever, but on and off more recently. Yeah, that's for what we're trying to accomplish. It makes a lot of sense that we're obviously we find ourselves in the same place or similar places on the journey, and then also at the ritualistic time of a New Year like celebration where the culture is go out and get so messed up that you don't remember what you did, and that's what you do for fun. But we're doing it the conscious way where we're trying to remember everything that we're doing and not you know becoming more in control rather than less in control, which is what would happen and what I've done a lot of New Year's is so yeah, I'm happy. And then also I got the new getting Abigail, a little puppy, this year has kind of really given me a new perspective on a lot of things as well. And just like, what is she looking at her as an opportunity to, as a manifestation of something in my life and Machiavelli's life. And I see it as a positive, and she's a female. And for whatever reason, I was like, in my mind, I was like, they were like, what kind of puppy do you want? Blah, blah, blah. And then for like, since right in the beginning, I was like, what about that little female in the back? And she ended up being the runt and the last one out. But I was just like, I don't know. I just feel that little crazy feminine energy would be good in our house right now. And it's been great so far. It's only been 3 weeks, but I think that was a good sign to me. It was like kind of the part in the movie, if you were in the Queen's chamber, all of a sudden a little animal guide came up to you, or whoever that little guy is in the labyrinth, the little worm, just like one of those characters kind of appears, and it's like right when you thought you were like exhausted and needed a little bit of a boost, a little puppy ran in and just like, oh shit, okay, all right. And then,
Yep.
she gives me a clue on something, and I follow her down here, and, metaphorically, of course, but so that she was a good sign to me, even though it was a conscious choice that I've made. But I think I've talked to you about wanting to get another dog for most of this last year, to be honest. So it just kind of worked out perfectly that she fell into my lap, and then it's been a really positive experience so far. So it's nice to get her going into the new year, and then having the whole, energy of the house has changed now, and, she's always by my side, and I see Machiavelli differently now, and he sees me differently. Like, he's always pissed off at me.
He's like, bro,
dude. His looks are getting more intense, if that's somehow possible. Like the side eyes that he gives, they're now like very loud. So, but no, it's good for both of us. And when springtime comes, we'll be spending a lot of time outside, and just good stuff. So I'm excited where I'm at. I don't feel physically the best because of, the same bad habits that I've had, but mentally I feel better. And I just think that I think this next year will be a very positive one, definitely. And I'll get a lot more done. Hopefully continue the trend of doing more last year than I did the year before, and doing more next year more than I did than this year. So do you have like some goals that you want to accomplish, or resolutions or anything like that? I never really do resolutions, but I'll be setting specific goals for me to reach throughout the year. I think that's always helpful. And then even deadlines will be nice. We've always talked about deadlines. We've given ourselves deadlines and stuff like that because there is value in them. But so I'm going to try to do that for at least a couple of projects that I'm working on, and then things like finishing books and stuff like that in between. Because I'm not planning on traveling anywhere unless we end up going to New York for a weekend or something like that. But besides that, I'm really going to be just kind of locked in this year, and hopefully trying to get a lot of things done. You got some similar things you're trying to accomplish?
Yes. First of all, I'm with you on the New York thing. I've been thinking more about that. Like when we were texting about that, I was like literally on the verge of death. Like couldn't even think about anything. Was so sick. But the more I've thought about it, I definitely want to do that. And I think we should spend a little bit more time there if it's possible for you. but like maybe what we do is we get absolutely, you know, a good chunk of time, just you and I at the monolith, you know, focusing on a project. I think that is absolutely important. That's something we talked about doing. We should do that. We need to do that. But I think I'd like to stay a little bit longer even too, just to like spend some time with Kim. If I'm going to be in New York, want to make, you know, spend a little bit of time with Jeremy, see Gabe. You know, Gabe wants to see you. Gabe's always talking.
Yes. Yeah. Two of my cousins live out there now too.
Oh, great.
My younger cousin lives in Astoria actually, so he just moved out there a couple months ago. So I would definitely want to go see them as well. You might have met my cousin Maddie. One where we were out at a bar, and I think it was the bar where like the bouncer like right away started talking to us about just
yes. I remember that. Yep.
My cousin was there, so you met Maddie before.
Yeah. I remember that.
But yeah, I would definitely, I mean, so I could say there, you know, it's just a matter of money at this point, because I can always get off for a week, especially if I have enough time in advance. So were you thinking like a week or what? Like,
I was thinking maybe, about a week, maybe like do like 2 to 3 days of monolith, and then the rest of that time we can just do our pilgrimages and visit and with people. And I'd like to go up to Mayapack and see Matt and Mike, a few people there. But yeah, that's the thing. Like I backtrack of like, that's exactly how I feel too about traveling. Because I know the other major thing is going to Sundance for next year. And that's a big week and a half, 2-week road trip, commitment, spiritual experience. And it's the graduation Sundance too. So with that being said, I want to save money. So if it's just like New York and Sundance, that's like, I can see that being like good, you know, I can allot for that. I can save from that and fiscally make that feasible and all that. But so then the goals for the year for number one is I want to lose 50 pounds. I want to lose 50 pounds.
Nice.
Because I'm going to be, for Sundance, I'm going to be dragging the skulls this year. And I need to be in better shape for that. That's like, I pulled my second year and that was intense, but this is going to be a lot more intense. I mean, 6 buffalo skulls all strung together, stuck to my back, dragging around the arbor, perhaps multiple times.
That's wild, dude. Yeah, you're gonna want to be able to be in the best shape you can for that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm strong. I have confidence in my strength, but I would like to. That's my goal for this year. Is number one is to lose 50 pounds. Feel a lot better about myself, so that, you know, even on a vanity level, and not that that matters, but when I have my shirt off in front of everybody, I don't, you know, have any thoughts of like, oh, you know, I want to be in the game, in the zone for that. So that's one. And then the other goal that I have is to really let go of the vaping. I don't smoke cigarettes anymore. That's not a problem for me. I've definitely weaned myself. I've been weaning myself off the vape lately, especially, you know, being sick too. That kind of helped, because can't really do that unless I'm trying to hurt myself, and I don't want to hurt myself at this point.
Smart.
So lose 50 pounds, stop vaping, and then and also really just have my syllabus down. We've talked about this a little bit, I think, in text messages, because the Human Origins Conference, and also getting into shape will make me feel good about that too, because to be standing on stage or at a venue talking about a story, it'll be the first time I'm like giving a lecture on stage about anything. So my goal is to be as prepared as possible for that. So it's fun, you know, it's like my goals are not as much. I mean, it's talk about the wants and the needs things, and sometimes it's wants and needs, but it's like my goals this year are very much motivated from the fact that I have obligations that I want to be as prepared and ready for as I possibly can. Mm-hmm. And it's like, I know from experience of putting things off, that like the consequences of feeling like shit in a time where I don't want to feel like shit, you know, thinking, oh man, I shouldn't have done that, or oh, I should have did this. It's like, these are two things that I absolutely do not want to be in that position for, because it's, you know, this is, I feel like these are great opportunities to really take life to the next level. I mean, obviously Sundance and graduating and having that 4-year commitment and knowing that I did that, but then also doing lectures and having a story and being more comfortable in a public speaking position. I know I can do it. I do it, but like there was a time when I was in Seattle last year and did a Sundance fundraiser event sort of thing, and I was sort of impromptu brought on to stage to like share my experience about Sundance in front of a large group of people. Like I came in and a few of my Sundance brothers were on stage talking to everybody. And then I kind of came in, was standing on the side, and they're like, "Oh, well, Alex is here, and Alex, come over, like, share your story." And like instinctively, I was like, "No, I'm good, I'm good, you guys." And they're like, "Oh, okay." But then it's like that was totally a program. Like, didn't even think about it. I was like, "No, I'm good." But then it came to a point where, you know, I think they might have asked me to come back again, or I just offered to go up again. So I went up and had nothing prepared to say whatsoever, but just spoke in front of everybody. And I was so nervous. I was like so nervous, and it just felt so unusual. It was like, oh my God, like this is something I always wanted to do. And number one, I have a program that was stopping me from doing it. And number two, once I got up there, I was nervous as fuck. It's like, these are two things I need to work on. I knew that right away. So, yeah, that's definitely those. I would say those are there's a lot of other things I think that can fall into place once I accomplish those. And I don't want to overburden, get too lofty with the goals. That could be counterproductive as well.
We're good at that as well, obviously, overwhelming ourselves with objectives. But those are perfect for you, man. Ceremoniously, and just like to get a better skill set in some things. Like obviously, to me, you're always a lecturer. It made sense. That your uncle does that all the time for his job, and just how animated you and your dad and Uncle Bruce are, and how much you're all just like storytellers. So, I mean, you obviously had no problem lecturing Alex and Jeremy and Corey and Remington and everybody else. Like, you were fluent in that and had no problem with that, but a little bit easier in your living room. But those are great skills for you to better develop for sure, because I've always imagined you as that being at least part of your job, whatever your job ends up being, is speaking to a lot of people and explaining stuff or telling stories, whatever the format and whatever the reason for it. That's always been like, that'll be one thing that Alex does when he's a professional so-and-so, is that he'll be talking to large groups of people and you'll be very comfortable with it. It's like one of the balances, I can see myself standing in front of 1,000 people and speaking confidently and, that kind of stuff like that.
Yeah.
That just makes sense to me that's something that you can want to do. And that obviously, like you said, I think that'll be a skill set. Once you have it, will open up other avenues for you. And who fucking knows, I mean, especially if you're speaking to even 100 people at a time, that's 100 more people looking at you and being like, oh, man, well, I don't know about that guy. You're exposing yourself to so much many opportunities. And especially if you're kind of like confident in the way you talk, like that goes a long way for, and then people just seeing how your mind works. It's just like the best calling card you could possibly have, is to be able to speak really well, or at least, articulate yourself in front of a lot of people, just because that way it just opens yourself up to more success for so many different ways, and ways that you can't even like imagine at this point, especially if you get a YouTube video of you, putting that out there, whatever. But, so those are great objectives to have and seem like very attainable ones as well. Is there like a process? Like, are you going to like try to speak to smaller groups beforehand, like as like a thing? Or are you going to try to, I don't know what avenues you would even have, or like stand-up comedy, or just, and getting in plays, or just something that would kind of familiarize you with.
Well, I think the first step is to really develop the syllabus, is to, and based on like piggybacking or being inspired by what Uncle Bruce does by making a PowerPoint presentation.
There you go.
That's kind of like the main thing. I've been writing down the elements and the plot, basically the things that are going to be in the story. That my goal was to have that kind of completed by now, and I got enough that I'm sure can, and I know like things are just going to go tangents from all the things that I've wrote. It's just as they will, but it's like as long as that story is there. And so this coming month, number one is to make a PowerPoint presentation that I can then practice with, sit there and just like I've seen Uncle Bruce do it a million times, just sit there with his PowerPoint, just like sitting there with his PowerPoint. He'll just sit there on the floor and he like puts his PowerPoint together, and I sit here, see him like just kind of working it out in his mind of how he's going to present it. So that's what I want to do. And then from there, I think, it's going to be like, I'm just going to give like sample lecture to anyone that will want to hear it. Yeah. And then the other thing too, probably, which would make a lot of sense, is just to film a video of me, just film takes of me doing it and then rewatching it and then just doing that in a repetitious way so that before March 22nd, I will have done that a number of times.
Right. And then obviously you could send the video to me or link it to me, and, and everybody, whoever else you want to see it, and get your critiques from that.
Yes.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Yeah, that's the plan, man. That's the plan. And
well, I'm excited to hear it all and see it.
Yeah. So what about you? What are your do you have any resolutions or?
You can still pause it, right? I just need to go to the bathroom real quick. Is that still possible?
Yeah, no, that's possible. And I'm just going to give like a thing here. I want to stay on longer, but probably going to have to go in like a half hour or something.
Okay. Yeah, that works. That's fine. I just need to.
Okay. Yep. I'm going to pause it.
Okay.
For that.
Yeah. Right when it started and you couldn't hear me, my mic wasn't working or whatever. The first thing I said is, "Are you in a fucking atrium right now?" But you couldn't. That's what it sounds like. I'm like.
Yeah, so that'll be in there. Got my.
Oh, Alex is in the tropics right now.
Yeah, you in atrium. Also, another thing I want to comment on is that that's a pretty cool backdrop there in the doorway. Is that like a sheet with a spaceman on it?
It's it's an astronaut holding a squid.
Oh, sick.
Or a jellyfish.
Oh, nice. Yeah, that's awesome.
It's the back side of it though. It's facing the other way, so that's like grayed out. So it's really like black.
Ah,
very
cool.
Colorful.
Nice. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, I really like. That's another thing. I really like where my space is at. My apartment. I feel really, really good about it, except for the fact that this little idiot's pissing all over the floors. But it's really, everything else is like, feels really good. Every room feels good. And I just got a fountain poster, like the OG poster that we had.
Oh, nice.
In the house, and I got like a frame for it too. So I just put that up on my wall in my bedroom. So it kind of completed it because I have a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles poster and then a Dazed and Confused poster, like two smaller ones, which I consider the most influential movies. From 0 to 10 was Ninja Turtles, from 10 to 20 was Dazed and Confused, and from 20 to 30 was The Fountain. So now I have like the three most influential movie posters like on my wall, and that kind of like completed my bedroom. In this room, I just put a couple things up the other night too. So every room is like either complete or very, very close to it. So I feel really good about the whole space, which is awesome.
Yeah, looks good. Looks good. Feels good.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you were saying, so what were you had resolutions or intentions or some sort of thing?
I mean, so I have a couple of strict ones and a couple of loose ones, so nothing that I can, the strict ones are more measurable, like finishing projects I want to finish. The two scripts that I'm working on right now, and plus one more, want to start and finish that one. So I want to finish 3, and then I want to have an actual outline for the movie Five that we've talked about for.
Is that what you were talking about? You had some ideas for a
No,
movie?
no, because I can't even think about that one yet. That script is still far away from me. But I just have something I want to run by about this. The main one that I'm working on right now, which is like the detective. It's like a noir detective movie, but that's the one where the main character is Machiavelli as a human being. I think I told you that.
Yes.
So I have imagined, at least temporarily, but I'd like in the future for this to be true, that Mos Def would be playing the main character. Somewhere in between the character of Be Kind, Rewind and
Hitchhiker's Guide.
Hitchhiker's Guide, yeah, right. Somewhere in there, but maybe a little bit more weird, and definitely more of an asshole. But like I've been watching so many old noir films, like constantly. All the books that I got this year were all like the classic crime books. So that's the script that I've been working on now, which I'm super excited about, which is really fun. And I just recently decided that actually, because I wanted to make it a classic one set in Los Angeles, because that's where all the old, cool, smoky, foggy, shadowy stories used to go down. But then I was like, but that's been done, a million times, and it's cool, and you see the same settings, and it makes you feel the thing that you always want to feel. It's like, oh, what a great shot of this and a great shot of that. And it's like, okay, yeah, we've seen those 100 million times. It's kind of like a cop-out at this point, So then I was talking to one of the owners where I work, he just made a movie. That's kind of like his passion. He uses the money that he makes from the restaurant to fund his own like local movies in Milwaukee, which is awesome. But we were just talking about, creativity and whatnot. But I referenced David Satlin, a lot. One of the teachers I had at Columbia, and for whatever reason, my boss Miles reminded me of one thing he said, which was creativity is not necessarily doing something that's never been done before, but it's doing something that's been done over and over in a different way. And then I was like, well, has there ever been a noir movie in Milwaukee, like a big movie? And I was just like, I've been living in Milwaukee. I know Milwaukee better than Los Angeles right now. And it's a different setting. There are different things involved than Los Angeles. There's more of a culture here. There's more of a type of people that you could, play with. So I recently made that choice to move it to Milwaukee, which I think is exciting for me. But what I've been not struggling with is just like so all the, classic crime movies, are like there's a big evil happening, whether or not it's like underground prostitutions or drug running or, just regular organized crime and everything that goes with that, gambling. And then it's like a lot of them have been dealing with like child pedophilia or like sex rings or like scary stuff like that. And I'm just like looking at all these old classic stories, and they're all pretty much in the same realm, like the level of corruption. And then I want to make something that is more kind of local to Milwaukee, more kind of makes sense to have it here, something that I could use. But I've just been really struggling. I've been looking up top 10 problems that Milwaukee as a society has and issues, and a lot of them, there's a lot of race issues here and stuff like that. But I just was wondering if you had like a fresh take on what the bad guys could be doing in a classic noir film that's like set in the Midwest, besides, even if it is a cliche thing, maybe like
okay. I thought of something. And, at first thinking, it's like, okay, well, that's what Chinatown was about. Ironically, it was about the whole water scenario.
Right. I just watched that again.
But I watched one of the movies I actually just watched, and I highly recommend it, actually, which is surprising for me, but is Fahrenheit 11/9.
Oh, is that the Michael Moore one?
The new Michael Moore movie. Definitely one of the best Michael Moore movies that has come out, in my opinion. And the thing is, it's plays up as about Trump and the whole thing with Donald Trump. But really, I would say the majority of that movie is about the Flint, Michigan water crisis. And something that really got me thinking was just how the largest body of fresh water in North America, you got Wisconsin, Michigan, even New York, like just that whole area around the Great Lakes. It's like, I feel like something around the concept of the Great Lakes, and even though but in terms of a noir, and And even with making a movie, doing homage is always something that you can play with, and homage can really be a nice tip of the hat to the genre. And it's like that took place in Los Angeles, but it doesn't actually have to be about the water and like stealing water from people. But something that kind of crossed my mind is maybe something related to that, or that was the first thing that kind of came with.
Yeah, obviously that's a good one. I was talking like an idea that I came up with. Well, in that same vein, what did I write? It was like, because every city obviously has water issues. If you look deep enough into it, there's fluoride or whatever it is. But in Milwaukee, I was trying to make it something Milwaukee centric, and then there are so many, like, I was making it too playful, I think. But it is still something I want to do, is keep the humor in it, like serious but lots of humor. But there's so many like local breweries going in here, like everywhere. But Milwaukee, they're on every block, and that's most of the culture here is beer culture. And I was like, maybe there could be some sort of conspiracy, like why all these microbreweries are popping up and getting funding is because they're trying to, like, it's cheaper to feed humans beer than to clean the water. So like they're covering up like the shitty water condition by just
getting everybody wasted,
giving everybody beer instead of water.
And that's like what I remember hearing about that with back in the 1700s when the Declaration of Independence and all that stuff was going on. That one of the big reasons why everyone had wooden teeth was because the water was such terrible quality that like all they drank was like beer and whiskey and rum and all that shit. And it was just like if you were to go back in time, pretty much everybody was an alcoholic at that point.
Because it was better than drinking the shitty water.
Exactly.
Right. Yeah, so that's something I've been playing with. And Rose, I even brought that up to Rose, and she said that there is an issue with water in Lake Michigan. And it's like, if you've been here and you see the lake, there are some parts that you weren't able to go swimming in the lake for long period, like years and years and years. And if you went by there, it just reeked of sewage and you could smell it for a long time. So it's not like we have beautiful beaches on the most beautiful lake in the world. It's like there's a bunch of water there, but it's not always good. And we dump literal sewage into it every so often as well. So that's definitely another option. That one's definitely better, because one of the notes that I made last night was I wanted to write a movie that my mom would actually want to watch. So I don't want to put anything there about like pedophiles and stuff that make you cringe. And like, I want it to be just a more lighthearted, but still like classic noir. And I don't want to make it like that kind of feeling.
Another thing that kind of just crossed my mind too is Indiana Jones, especially Raiders of the Lost Ark, had a bit of a noir vibe to it at times, with the lighting and sort of the exposition and certain things that happened in there. But maybe like the bad guys or the villains are some sort of like similar to what an Indiana Jones villain would be. That they have some sort of it's like maybe the water and the beer and all that. It's like it's the MacGuffin. It's the thing that is distracting from like what the real issue is. And it's not like a secret pedophile ring, but it's maybe they found some sort of like artifact, like on an island in the middle of the lake that no one knew about. And like there's like, why the hell are they guarding? And they think they're guarding the water, but really that's a distraction to guard from the island where they have the fucking the thing that they're trying to find.
I like that. I like that more, adding more of a spectacle to it, or just something a little bit out of the ordinary too. Because I don't want to make it like a step-by-step, block-by-block noir film. I want different aspects to it. Like obviously the main character is a dog who is a human. So that right off the bat is kind of setting a different tone. But I like that idea of making it seem like, so tricking them, because it's really easy to, it's like people are in the theater and they're like, oh, I know what kind of movie this is. So I'm along for the ride, a classic noir film, this is going to happen, and then this bad guy, and then this crazy sexy lady over here is going to do that. And then it's like, I know what's going to happen, but I want this to happen. So then you're kind of tricking them to already be like, okay, expecting things. And then you can give them all the things that they're looking for while having something else entirely happening.
Yeah, in the background. Classic misdirection. to
Yeah.
use the magic term.
Right.
And that could be really fun, keeping it lighthearted, but yeah, just misleading. Almost makes me think of in Tron Legacy, where it was like building up that Star Wars kind of vibe, like where young Jeff Bridges seemed to be his father, and it's like, oh my god, it's like, here he is. It's like, no, I'm not your father. It's like, oh, what? Like, and there's just kind of playing into the stereotypes a little bit, but doing and noir too. Like, it'd be funny how it somehow revolves around the water and a conspiracy with the water, when it's like, that's exactly what I was expecting. But then like other shit starts to happen that later on, when things starts to really pick up, and then you were to go back and watch it a second time, you could be like, oh shit, like if I wasn't paying attention to the water a store, or that it's like this stuff was going on since like the first scene of the movie, and we just wasn't even paying attention to it.
Right. Yeah, like
And then,
there's did you show me that video where it was like people headering something was happening in the foreground, and then a guy in a bear costume was walking past? Yeah.
Yes.
So it was like count the number of these things, so you're focused on that, and then at the end it's like, do you even see the man with the bear?
The moonwalking bear,
yeah.
That's
There,
love that video. It's a great trick of the perception. It's like what we're if you're not looking for it, you won't see it.
Right.
Yeah.
And especially if you're looking for something else in particular.
Yeah.
So I guess that's a good note in general, just because this is a classic genre movie where there's pretty standard things that I can use that way more to my advantage than
Yeah.
That's her little jacket that she wears, but of course she wants to chew on
it. Abigail.
Anyway. Cool. All right. Yeah. Well, that's all I needed. I just needed a kind of refresher.
That's great. That's a good idea, man. I like the direction you're going with that, with a noir. That's really cool.
Yeah. It's a lot of fun. And these old movies are great, and just the snappy dialogue is what gets me every time, super cool dudes who are kind of assholes. I like, and then especially one who is a dog, so he has like dog tendencies that are just kind of like bizarre. Which
it's got constantly scratching the back of his head.
He's just always like picking stuff up and like
yeah.
Like, what the fuck?
Yeah, there's like a clue, and he just sticks up and licks it constantly.
Well, that's one of the things that's going to happen, is that he's gonna meet a dog who's me. I'm the dog in this movie, and Machiavelli is the human in this.
I like that.
So I'll be around, just kind of showing up whenever, and then he'll find something, and he'll smell it, or he'll lick it, or something like that. Something that nobody else would lick because it's part of a crime scene, or because of whatever it is, Or he'll smell it, and he'll have this reaction, and then he'll put it down to his dog's nose, and his dog will smell it, and his dog will sneeze, or something like that. A very particular reaction. And then later on in the movie, there will be something that they're missing, and then all of a sudden he'll smell the thing, give it to his dog again, and his dog will sneeze again to kind of connect it and let him know that these two things are you're on the right path. So
a movie
playing with stuff like that.
Yeah, another movie to maybe rewatch to get into some interesting ideas would be to rewatch Turner and Hooch.
I knew you were going to say that. Yeah.
I haven't been able to watch that in a long time because Isabel, she goes nuts. Like every time it's like a Game of Thrones I can put on because she knows it.
Yeah, it's a very similar idea, right? Like Hooch they're basically partners, but
yeah, they're partners solving crimes. Yep. Yeah, that could be
exactly.
Cool.
Yeah, similar dynamic to that, but just more agreeable. Like obviously Turner and Hooch, they're at odds the whole time, and Hooch, not the whole time, but Hooch is eating the whole car and drooling everywhere. So there's going to be more of like a common bond between my two characters. Like they're just going to be like talking to each other all the time and consulting, and everyone's just like, I don't know what the fuck's going on with this guy, but it works. He's effective. Obviously, if he wasn't effective, then it'd be like, go get the fuck out of here. Stop doing that weird shit. But because he is good at what he does, and his dog does seem to help him and doesn't bother anybody, it's like,
yeah. And that's like the classic investigator that's got their weird little quirks.
Exactly.
They do those things, and you're like, all right, here he comes. Here comes Machiavelli. It's like, and then there's like the newbie. It's like, what the hell is this guy doing? Be like, hey, let him do his thing, man.
Yeah, right,
Let him
right,
do his thing.
exactly. Exactly. Like that reminds me too of kind of in Tombstone. Is his name Huckleberry?
Who? Val Kilmer?
Yeah, Val Kilmer, something like
No,
that, right?
not he calls you like I'm here, Huckleberry. No,
Oh yeah,
it's his name was Doc Holliday.
Doc Holliday. Yeah, remember somebody in like who first meets him in the movie, but you had already met him along. You know, you're familiar with his character. Somebody's like, "What?" They're just like, "No, no, that's just how he is. Like, leave
Yeah.
him be. That's just how he. That's just how he does his thing."
Yep.
That'll kind of be like that'll be this guy who I've
I like
named.
that.
His name is Halifax Dante.
How that's the detective's name?
Yeah. So
Halifax Dante.
Most Def's real first name is Dante, and Halifax just came to me one time. They can call him Hal. Or Detective Dante. So that's what I've come up with for him. So
my Aunt Laura's dog is named Dante.
Okay.
Dante, Halifax Dante. That's cool. I like that.
Dante. Yeah. So just finishing this one, the other one, which is kind of like the flip side to this movie, those two, and then I have another script about that's kind of motivated by this soccer coach that just stopped coaching with a team that I like, Arsenal. Like a 70-year-old French guy. Yeah. And they call him Le Professeur. I'm sure I've told you about him plenty of times, but like turning him into like a super villain is the next movie, which will be more like more of a fun creative writing process, like just an experiment and see what I come up with, and it'll kind of have like no rules to it, so it might end up like a sci-fi movie or a drama or something. But so I just want to get those finished and then have an outline for 5 by the end of the year, like a solid outline, and then just get that started, instead of, because that's so ethereal to me still. We've talked about it and then we've let it go and then we've had completely different ideas about it.
Yeah, and being the third part of a trilogy that's like still in development, it's talk about being up in the air with a lot of stuff, but also having that really powerful sense about it that it's there's definitely something to that. Pretty epic.
Right, and we just still don't know. So I feel like even just trying to get a grasp on it, like I might not even be able to write an outline. It might be like impossible, but I haven't really sat down to try to do that since the house. So that'll be like, once I accomplish all of these scripts, I feel like I'll have enough whatever I need to Abigail to try to get on that train.
Yeah.
So I think if I accomplish those things, and then just a couple of personal things that I want to do, nothing specific like losing weight, but just a couple of things here and there that I want to not overwhelm myself with, but get better at and make progress with. I think that's all reasonable.
Yeah.
Reasonable to do. So
I have a friend from Australia. He's been calling 2019 the 19. And I like that. There's something about it too. It's like, because I feel, 2020, that's the real future. That's the future beyond any anticipated future we could have thought about 10 years ago. I mean, I feel like 10 years ago, all we were thinking about when it was like 2012 and like the ascension and like, it's going to be, shit's going to happen in 2012, let alone all the years that have gone by. This is the conclusion of a decade. So I think there's a lot of power and opportunity with this one. So we'll
in the 19,
the 19, 9 being the evolution number, the God number, the higher learning number, and 1 being the oneness. So
that, man, definitely with that, and trying to get things set up for the future in 2020 for sure.
Yeah.
I had like a real quick here, because I know you said you got to go, but like I was having a whiny day at work. I was just kind of in my head being real grumpy about everything and whatever. It was an average day, but I just came in mentally grumpy. And then, we, at the end of our shift, we always get like our cash out that says, money and this and that, but it shows us our total sales. And at the end of that day, my total sales, which were average for that day, or maybe a little bit lower than average, but they were $777.07. So
Oh
I was
shit.
like, oh wow, okay. That
Oh
like
wait, did you text me that? Did you text me that?
I might have. I
I
might
think
have.
you did because
Yeah.
that's like that sounds familiar, but
Yeah.
it's hearing it directly. It makes a lot. That it has an impact. That's pretty trippy.
And I haven't had a lot of, just because I've been so like matrix distracted for the last over a year. I feel like I haven't noticed any like number, synchronicities, or very, very, very rarely. And there's a lot of opportunities because I work, with money and have checks, constantly. So there's always numbers at my work, and so rarely, except when 69 comes up, I'm like, but besides that, it's very rare when like there's like a number like that. So when it was 7, when I was being a grumpy little human bitch, and then it came out 77707, I was like, okay, well that's something. So that was a nice little end of the year.
Yeah, lucky
Synchronous.
seven, lucky seven, transformational times.
That's what I'm feeling for sure. So I'm definitely, I'm feeling good about the 1-9, which happens in 4 hours for me and 6 hours for you.
Yeah, yeah,
Are you gonna stay up and have a little?
yeah.
Some more ritual?
I had an espresso earlier, so I'm probably gonna be up for a little while.
I've been drinking
And
coffee. Yeah.
yeah, and my dad and I bought a bottle of mezcal tequila with the worm in it. So probably
Tasty.
gonna get into that. Oh man, so I got Cards of Humanity for Christmas, or not Cards of Humanity, Cards Against Humanity.
Uh-huh.
Have you played that?
I have a couple times. Yeah.
Yeah, so I got that and played it with my parents the other night. We were drinking shots and just like we didn't really play it fully because you have to have 4 people to do it properly and everything. So we kind of were just going through the motions and having pulling out answers and doing that. We had such a good time, man. It was so funny. I haven't heard my dad laugh like that. I don't think ever. He was
Awesome.
giggling beyond measure. It was hilarious. So there's probably going to be some of that going on tonight.
Your family would be a perfect family to play that with, for sure.
Yeah, my mom definitely won. We weren't really counting, but if we were to count, she had the best answers for sure.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, my family would not do well with that game. My mom would stop playing in a
yeah.
one.
Yeah, I don't. That's rated R for your mom. Not right. I would feel bad.
Right, exactly. Everybody would feel terrible. They'd be like, "Oh no, I can't."
Yeah, no. Cover your ears.
No, yeah, that'd be great to play. Well, I'd like to play that with your family at some point. That'll be a goal in the future, is to play Cards Against Humanity with the Liptons.
Yeah, we'll have to get a good game going. And and then tomorrow we're also going to play, because I got last year for Christmas, I got Game of Thrones style Risk. And
Cool.
I have never played it. I've had it for a year and just have not had the opportunity because there's just, it takes a lot of people to play that. So we're going to actually sit down and play it tomorrow, because my dad's been really getting into Game of Thrones. So he's more familiar with all that shit. So, yeah. So we're going to see who takes over Westeros tomorrow.
Nice. That's fun. That'll take up some effort, but that'll be a good time, I'm sure. I haven't played a board game in eternity, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, so tonight's really just going to be chilling and hanging out.
Sweet, man. Well, good luck.
No, I was asking you.
Oh, you're asking.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, nothing. Gonna take the dogs for a walk. It's raining out, but besides that, just gonna take it real easy. I'll be up for a bit because of the coffee, but I want to get everything laid out, because my goal is to start writing this script, at least a little bit of it, tomorrow. So I want to get everything as far as I can, so I can get as much momentum. And even if I write just one page, it'll be nice to have it officially bringing it out of the air into real life. So just getting in line and probably just eating a pizza, watching a movie, taking it real easy, which is nice. Drinking lots of water. My dad got me these cool little electrode pad things that are kind of like you put on your muscles that stick on there, and then you have a little thing that you can tell how to what kind of pattern you want in there. And
So was that do? Just kind of massage or just kind of stimulate
Yeah,
you a little bit? Be like,
yeah.
yeah,
So like
nice
if you grab them and you're getting like you feel like you're getting
shock.
shocked from an outlet, but if you
Yeah,
put them on, it's so those are cool. So I'll probably just lay around, maybe drink some tea, and yeah, just ease into the 1-9, just real easy, not running, not jogging, just kind of
yeah,
sloughing over, real nice,
yeah,
scoping it out first. I don't want to go into it, blinded. I want to walk into the room, being able to look around and be like, oh, okay,
yeah.
let's do this.
I like that. I like that analogy. It's a good. It's a good way to. That's what I'm doing. That's what I'm doing. Just gonna probably watch some Black Mirror, which it's not the most relaxing thing to do, but
Okay.
I do enjoy some Black Mirror this time of year.
Yeah, it's a good time of year for it. It's exciting. That's an exciting way to go into it. I just watched Prisoners. That's the movie I was watching. Have you seen that?
With Harrison Ford with Hugh Jackman.
Yes, and Jake Gyllenhaal. You've seen it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh my god, that was so intense, dude.
My brother's
Oh,
been telling me to watch it for years, and I finally just did it, and it was
yeah,
yeah, very
yeah,
good.
dude. Yeah. Oh my god, and Paul Dano, and just like being that kid that was kidnapped the whole time, and yeah, there was a talk about like misdirection in that movie. There was
Yeah,
a lot of misdirection in that movie.
it was very very well done.
Yeah, I'm
I mean,
glad they.
I liked all that guy's movies so far, so
Hmm.
yeah, that was exciting. So maybe I'll stay on that kind of darker vibe.
Hmm.
We'll see what else is there. I still have a bunch of like old school noir films from like the 40s and the 50s that I want to watch, but I don't know if I'll necessarily be in the mood to watch those. I finally watched Double Indemnity. Have you ever seen that?
Nope.
That's always like the number one. I think it's Billy Wilder was the director, and he's like they say one of the better ones from way back when. But as far as like crime movies, this one was like the classic one.
Ah, cool.
It was really fucking good, like
Nice.
get good, which is
Awesome.
which is really really cool. But yeah, I suggest it if you ever are in that mood to watch that kind of. I think it's
Yeah,
30s or 50s. So
I should. I haven't seen a lot of those noir movies, but I know they're on Plex. Matt put them on there. He put like a whole ton of them on there at one point. So I have to do a marathon. That's a good idea. It's a good idea.
I mean, it's just nice to get back into loving movies again, I guess, because I feel like I'd gone away from it for a little bit, but then every time I talk to people about it, I'm like, oh yeah, I fucking love movies, and it's that kind of I have to remind myself and then get back into it. So like, especially going back into the old like Hollywood classics, it's like, yeah, I really do love movies, man. That's like
Yep. They're
that's
great.
why we're doing what we're doing. It's like
Yep.
we fucking love movies.
Yep. Yeah. That was what I realized when I went to Crestone. It was like, I got to get away from the movies. And then I got there and it was just like, oh, yeah, have you seen this movie? And it's like, oh, dude, fuck movies. Like, why don't you go outside and like walk around or something? And I'm like, oh, wait a minute. But I love movies. Man, what the fuck did I do moving here? I was in Hollywood. I had to come
Yeah.
here. But, of course, it all is part of the journey. But it was there. Yeah, there was that moment. It's like, wait a minute. I fucking love movies.
It's like we were both there. I mean, you were in Hollywood, but I was in LA too, and we both left willingly. It's like fuck,
Yeah.
fucking right there, fucking
Yeah.
right there.
But now we have a vision. We've got a vision. We've got plans. We've got goals. And even not even. It's like I think we're wizardly enough that we can articulate certain things to a point, but we also have an understanding that the intention. I was talking about this with somebody else too, is that I feel like a lot of the thoughts that go through our head are not necessarily in any language. They're more like feelings and just like baby. It's hard to even describe a lot of things. Like if you ever stop to catch yourself thinking, usually I feel like it's like you felt something and then the language comes in to try to describe what the hell was going on. And that's what language is. It's like, and sometimes we think in terms of words, but I think more often than not, and it's kind of impossible to tell because we don't, we're always thinking in terms of language. But I think we're wizardly enough that we can understand our intention and then also have that language to be able to put things into perspective, and we accomplish certain things. We take the tests we need to do, and I guess overall, really, it's mandala and making these movies,
Yep.
which we will do.
Which we will do. Yep. But we apparently needed to learn a couple more things before we can get to that point. Because we certainly, like you said, about what you're trying to accomplish this year, you're trying to be as prepared as possible for these two specific things that you have to do. And you know what you need to do to get there, but you know that you do not want to be unprepared when you get there. Like you said, those are two specific places where it's horrible to be unprepared.
Yeah.
Same thing with getting to a point with mandala. It's like that would be a really bad place to be if we were not prepared well for it. Like it'd be, especially if it was the only opportunity that we would have. And you have to assume that if you get to that point, when you get to that point, you can't assume that there's going to be more opportunities coming just because you got this one. So we definitely need to be as good as we can be in a lot of areas before we get to a point where we can make something legitimately happen. And if that means like us getting better, which it mean, and then surrounding ourselves with other people who know what they're doing in different aspects. Like I think getting a large band together, of like people who are good at this, good at that, everyone's got their own specific superpowers to, successfully fuck Hollywood in the ass. Like we need everybody to do that.
Yeah. That's I guess, that's the end goal, really. What do you want to do in 2020? I want to fuck Hollywood in the ass. Hard. So hard. Obliterate that.
Yeah. Just
obliterate it.
Total destruction.
Yes. And the creation begins, man. Well, this has been good, man. This has been good.
Yeah. Thanks for taking the time out in this night of nights, the last night of 2018. There will never be another night in 2018. So on to the 1-9 and positive things. And making steps forward, I think is the thing. And just getting better at stuff. Like, we kind of know what we're good at these days by now. And I think just sharpening those tools, the ones that we have and are good at, like we don't need to go grab a whole tool shed, but like we know a couple ones that we need to sharpen. And I think having that focus, which is what it usually comes back to for us to work on just a couple of things, I think with that, and then, motivating each other as well, I think we'll definitely have a successful year of getting shit done.
Yeah. And something also that just came to mind in terms of magic too. It's like, there's a lot of magic to accomplish here. So like watching, like for years, like we've seen the magicians on stage doing their thing, blowing our minds with all the, the stories of the world and the tales of what we're capable of and everything. But now it's coming to the point where it's like, and back to what I was saying before about magic, it's like a lot of magic is really just fake. Like it's literally like, if you break it down, the real magic is not happening in what you think the magic's happening. The magic's happening in your mind. And I think the saying that I wanted to get to is fake it until you make it, is a kind of a thing that something that seems miraculous might just be trickery. Like when I'm doing a simple card trick that might blow your mind, it's like really, I have to get my mind around the fact that I know exactly what the fuck is happening and that it's not anything at all what it seems. Like when I do this, ready? I'm going to watch a card. We're going to put it over there. I'm just going to, I'm just going to make it disappear. And it's like, for me, it's like I have to get around the fact that it's so obvious that the card is just hidden in my hand right here. But I have to believe, as much as I want you to believe, that the card has disappeared. So fake it until you make it. It's like, it's not as hard as it seems. We don't have to literally make the card disappear or reappear. We just have to keep doing it over and over and over again until it works. Fake it until you make it.
And believe it, right?
And believe it.
Like the saying goes, make shit up and take it seriously. And whatever you're doing, if you walk in there and you act like you know what you're doing, it's like, oh, that guy knows what he's doing. Cool. All right, let's do it.
Yep.
So yeah, just agreed. Get better at. It's like I had a realization about stuff at work too, because it's like general work BS, but everything's a game, right? Like there's a way to do it to make the situation better, and it's the same thing with the game of this life, as everyone has said a million times. All the world's a stage, but it's like there are specific things that you can do to get in a better position. It's like faking it or pretending like, having an arrogance or at least a confidence about you and knowing that you're going to do it, even if it's highly unlikely. It's like that just, it's way better for you to conduct yourself that way than any other way. I think that's the most efficient and gives you the most opportunities in life. Is if, even if you don't know what you're doing, act like the people who know what they're doing. It's like, how have these people made it? It's like they put hard work in, but they also got lucky, but they also look like they know what the fuck they're doing.
Yeah. And there was the Joe Rogan podcast I was watching recently where I forgot who it was, but I think it was like a biologist or a theoretical physicist or something, but they were talking about how we're not, the reason why like if someone wanted to quit smoking cigarettes, it's not the you're not rewarded for succeeding as much as you're rewarded for the constant attempts that you make. And the more attempts that you make, and it's like, even though those attempts may be failures, like the more times you put in the effort to do it, your body, the repetition will naturally it will click eventually. So it's like, if you try something, it doesn't work, you try it again, it doesn't work, and you're like, all right, well, see, I tried it and it didn't work. It's like, no, but it's like, you're not rewarded for that. It's like, if you just do it several times. So it's kind of like, fake it till you make it thing. But also it's that the failures are really what craft, or the mistakes or the trials are what really craft and make the master experience thing. So we can do that, I think. And that's like, with all the stuff going on, it's like being aware of that, I think, is extremely important, and being gracious in that, because life brings a lot of challenges, and it's a matter of just keep trying until we get it right. And it's just a matter of just keep on trying. That's the nature of life.
Agreed, man. Couldn't have said it better myself. Just keep going, and we'll get there. And if there's an opportunity, then you'll be there, ready to pounce on it. So yeah, just keep doing that shit. Keep doing you.
Yeah, man. Awesome, brother, man. Well, I'm gonna give you a call at 20 to 12 either way.
Okay. Your time or my time?
Probably New York time.
Okay. Because that was the original time.
The original time, man. So at 20 to...
It'll be 20 to 11 for me.
20 to 11 for you, which would be 20 to 8. 20 to
9.
20 to 9.
9 for you?
Yeah, 20 to 9. Yeah, okay. I got a little confused. There's a lot of factors in there.
Yeah, man. Well, yeah, hit me up. Good talk as always.
Yes.
But I have high hopes for both of us.
Me too, man.
Just coming in. So keep doing the thing.
Yep. The world is a lot more. Yeah, back to the original proverb of the book of Chris, chapter 1. Keep it simple.
Keep it simple. Peace out, brother.
Peace out, brother. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. I'll see you.
I'll see you soon. Enjoy Abigail and Machiavelli.
I will. We will.
Peace out, brother.
Peace. Love you.
Love you too, man.